Good evening and warm welcome to all the participants. We are extremely thrilled to have Dr. Geetha with us. She's a very busy entrepreneur and innovator. I will take you through her profile in a very brief manner. She's doing some towering work and it is difficult to put that into one slide, but I have made some kind of an attempt. Let me share my screen. Here we are. These are WiseViews leadership conversations, which we hold every Friday. We had taken a short break in the last 2 Fridays, and we are back to business now, September 19th, and this is the session number 209. We have Dr. Geetha going to talk about AI in healthcare, a very relevant, current, and extremely important topic for us. And therefore, we see a very good response of people who have joined on Zoom as well as live on Facebook. I welcome all of them once again. This intro, after this, we'll have the opening talk by ma'am for about 20 minutes, and then we'll begin the Q&A. So everything will be contained within 60 minutes from now. Let me take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Geetha Manjunath. She is the founder, CEO of NIRAMAI Health Analytics. She has led the company to develop a breakthrough AI solution for detecting early stage breast cancer in a non-invasive radiation-free manner. She comes with over 30 years of towering experience in IT innovation. Before NIRAMAI, Dr. Geetha was a lab director heading AI research at Xerox and a principal scientist at Hewlett-Packard Labs. Dr. Geetha has received many international and national recognitions for her innovations and entrepreneurial work, including CSI Gold Medal, BIRAC Weiner Award 2018, and is on the Forbes list in 2020 of top 20 self-made women. She was the winner of Women Health Innovation Showcase Asia in Singapore, Accenture Wahini Innovator of the Year Award from Economic Times, and Women Entrepreneur of the Year 2020 by Biospectrum India. Dr. Geetha is an inventor of more than 50 plus US patents, a senior member of the IEEE, and a fellow of the prestigious Indian National Academy of Engineering, INAE. Dr. Geetha is a gold medalist and a PhD holder from the IISc Bangalore with management education from Kellogg's Chicago. Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much for sparing your time to talk to the people who have joined on this platform. I once again welcome you to this conversation. I will also take one more minute to introduce my colleague, Dr. R. Prasad. He is the Senior Director in Academic Wing. He brings similarly a rich experience of 3 decades as an entrepreneur, as a corporate professional, and now as an academic at ICFAI. He holds BTech from IIT Bombay and PGDM from IIM Kolkata. Welcome, Dr. Prasad, and without much ado, we will now begin to listen to and learn from Dr. Geetha. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much once again.
Sure. Thank you so much for that introduction, Mr. Sudhakar, and very nice to meet you, Dr. Prasad, as well. Good evening, everyone. It's really nice to see a Friday evening, where people have gathered to learn more. It's very rare, Friday is, thank God it's Friday is what you hear, but here is a bunch of really, really sincere leaders and leaders to be as well. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about what we have done at NIRAMAI and share some of the leadership insights, I would say. So as was introduced, I am founder CEO of NIRAMAI. Just a bit of my own background, which of course was also part of this, is that I was head of AI lab as a lab director of data analytics, as we used to call it, at Xerox Research. It's a global lab. As you know, Xerox is known for Xerox machines, but it actually does a lot more innovative works than that, including the AI-based solutions in different application domains such as transportation, healthcare, customer care, etc. Before that, I was a principal scientist at Hewlett-Packard Labs, also working in cutting-edge technologies, etc. And then I hold a PhD from Indian Institute of Science. So all of these sort of, you may be thinking like, why all this and suddenly a startup, because when I was a lab director, I actually saw 2 of my very close family members to get detected with breast cancer and died within 1 year. So that kind of, a pain, or you can see, or seeing the pain at close quarters really made me want to solve that problem. Why am I telling these stories? I think that's a very critical part of what you want to do and what you can achieve. I'm not saying we are done. We have a long way to go still. But, if you have a problem in hand, which you feel from your heart, I am not a medical doctor. This doctor is a PhD doctor thing, right? I had to learn a lot about the medical science and of course, AI is something I knew, so I had to see how AI can be applied, and we will see what stage AI in healthcare is today. And this is one of the earliest, I would say, one of the earliest implementations of AI to actually save lives, to actually save lives as an autonomous system, right? So let me sort of go 10,000 foot higher and talk about what can AI in healthcare do. Typically I have just this broad view of, first of all, what is AI? AI is basically now become a simple common language word thanks to ChatGPT. Even everyone can relate to the word AI. But coming closer to healthcare, it can be used to derive multiple outcomes. So we can use it definitely to reduce missed diagnosis and overdiagnosis. That is basically calling out too many people as falsely positive and too many people as falsely negative. So when a doctor and the AI is working together, we can obviously make a difference in the diagnosis outcome. Additionally, we can use it to improve patient outcomes, patient experience. For example, when a person comes in, she has an appointment, you could actually sort of, make the full line of activities or operations aligned so that, the waiting time at every area is less and so on. So you can think about the experience of the patient, just like we talk about traveler experience in an airliner and things like that, right? Thinking patient as a customer. I mean, that's the industry in any way, right? So making the experience better, which is not, which is very similar to the rest of the domains. But yes, that is something that we can definitely look at non-clinical applications. Similarly, we can optimize resources in a hospital, for example, making sure the ICU bed is used only by really high priority patients in terms of their criticality, I would say, as opposed to, wrongly. So many other type of optimization can be done to optimize resources. And overall, it's about improving the patient experience and patient care and an outcome as such. Overall, when you look at all these applications, you may be thinking, already in your mind that there are two classes of applications. One, non-clinical. That is, it is similar to several other domains where AI is being used. I already talked about examples, even ChatGPT, or simple chatting with your doctor, communication with the customer, communication with the doctor, communication with your service provider. So all of these, diagnostic tests being sent. So all of these is one. And Practo, connecting the doctor to patient in the right way. All of these is non-clinical applications. When we come to clinical applications, here the AI is actually trying to make or help make a diagnosis, right? That is actually very, very difficult for multiple reasons, and we'll go through some of it at the end of my experience sharing, or maybe rest of the talk. But roughly at a high level, simple, if some of you are techie, trying to build classification models with AI, positive class, negative class, you would have heard about it. In healthcare, it's good that less number of people are ill and more number of people are healthy. But for a machine learning and AI model, we want equal, I mean, that's when the models perform very well. But that means we want 50% of people ill. It's not possible. Think about breast cancer, which is what we are trying to solve. 50% of people having that. No, that's not what we want. But so what does it have? What does it mean? There is a huge amount of class imbalance. We have like 0.04% and things like that, right? Which means that the AI models will be much, much more complicated while building. Just to sort of, give a flavor of it, let's say two people in a group of 100 have cancer. It's very easy to build a 98% accurate model by just saying no, 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 no to everybody, and you will get 98% correct. But obviously, you missed the two people who had cancer. So what we want to think about is there are new terms and new accuracy metrics that have come in. How many among the two did you catch? How many among the 98 you called out as false positive? It's called sensitivity specificity. So there is a lot of additional technical challenges in building the model itself because the number of positive classes is much, much lower. Availability of data. You want to try and look at all types of cats and all types of dogs when you're trying to classify whether something is a dog or a cat. It's easy. Like, it's not very easy, but you can actually get it on the web. But if I want to try and build a model for breast cancer and no breast cancer, I have to find all types of breast cancer categories into one, right? And something that looks like breast cancer and saying no, etc., right? So the data collection is also not easy. There may be country dependencies, that is demographic variations, ethnicity variations, as we say, and several other such building challenges. After building the model, you can't just test out in a hospital just like that, because there are regulatory bodies which govern which model, which healthcare product can go, etc. So that is also another important factor that we want to do. And that means a lot of other processes come into the picture. Data privacy comes into the picture. And how we communicate the answer to the patient comes into the picture. How we integrate the AI into the current clinical pathway comes into the picture. Several of these, come as hurdles. But it's all worth it, because among all the different applications or use cases or utility of AI in healthcare, my favorite is that it can be used to bridge the healthcare divide that exists between the rural infrastructure and the urban infrastructure, the developing world and the developed world. Because in rural infrastructure or in the developing countries, we have very low equipment, less number of equipments, low infrastructure, as we call it, and very less number of skilled doctors, so that is also an issue. So all of this is a limitation, whereas in urban also there can be limitations of people not able to pay. There also, this kind of rural pockets may be there. But having said that, AI can help in both of these, by becoming tools, we can develop tools, AI-based tools to simple health workers who can use it to actually identify the high-risk people at the right time so that we can get it. For example, during COVID, we developed an AI model to detect COVID in chest X-rays. And so this was used by 10,000 such health workers who used it because it's easy to take a chest X-ray, but very difficult to interpret it. So we had the interpreter which is running, and we were able to get the COVID, suspected people immediately or as soon as possible to the urban infrastructure for further diagnosis and so on. Similar things are being done for breast also, which I'm going to share more. And then in the urban infrastructure, there's lots of people, the intern is interviewing the person and identifying who is high risk or not. The AI could be that another smart intern, which can actually, channelize the right kind of people. So all this is feasible. And so at NIRAMAI, we looked at one specific use case and we took all the way up. And today we are called technology pioneers for the AI-based solution we have developed for breast screening. And this is used in 22 countries today, close to 25 now, right? So breast cancer is a major problem in women. It is, in fact, the top cancer, which is taking away so many deaths, female deaths. And also, unfortunately, it is one of the most curable cancers, but still we lose 50% of the cancers, 50% of women detected with breast cancer to this disease, which is because of late detection. And there are several gaps in the current methodology, that it is not user-friendly, does not work on women under 45, and also it is not accessible and affordable. So we developed this new method, we call it Thermalytics, where we just measure the temperature variations on the chest using an infrared imaging device instead of X-rays, which is radiation-based, nothing. This is non-radiation based, just measuring temperature using a similar device that we would have all seen probably in an airport when during COVID time, again, when you're walking in, they check for temperature, etc. And analyzing 4 lakh temperature points to generate a report automatically saying whether there's an abnormality and what is the probability that abnormality is cancer. We've clinically proven to show that it is actually able to detect stage 0 cancer, because otherwise hand-based examination, which is what is usually we end up using, can detect stage 2 or stage 3. We can detect stage 0. And it does not depend on the age. Today, the methodologies that are there, the tests are there, work only above 45 years of age. And there are 27% of cancer deaths under 45. So how do we sort of, save those thousands of young girls who are dying, young women who are dying? So that, is a screening test for that. And most importantly, it's a very privacy aware, privacy conscious test where it is done as a changing room system, where we have curtains all over, and then the lady enters, and though she removes her clothes, no one sees her, not even the technician. That kind of privacy we are able to provide. So the key angle here is that there are few people, maybe like 100, 200 people in the world who knew thermal imaging can be used to detect breast cancer. But it's very hard to, interpret an image like the center one, what you see with a lot of red, orange, etc., white, etc. And what we did was to convert that into more visually interpretable image with marking of the likely lesion. Additionally, with the more detailed scores indicating, like, if you use a glucometer, you actually get 100 or 200 or whatever is your sugar level, right? So that number is more interpretable as opposed to a color strip that if you had got, right? So like that, we actually make it more interpretable. We've created some new radiomics. These are like new biomarkers. We talk about blood biomarkers, protein biomarkers, etc. So we have created thermal radiomics, so thermal biomarkers and vascular biomarkers. There are about 25 different AI algorithms that is used here to extract the biomarkers, classify. Some of you would have heard about explainable AI, right? So what is explainable AI? You go to a doctor and say, hey, my AI is saying it is positive. The doctor will say, what do I do with it? Why are you saying it? Tell me more, right? There should be a trust in the solution and believability in the answers. So that's why when we give a report, it's a 3-page full report, just like your blood report will have like different numbers. So we have different numbers, that's one, but also explain the numbers, right? We say that, we say it's a hotspot classifier is showing. Means what? There is a thermal abnormality. Vascular classifier is another one which gives a different score, saying that there are blood vessels which are more in one part and less in another part because there is more cancer cell activity, there is more blood flow to that area, etc. Right? So like that, we have different, and then there is a hotspot with irregular boundary. So these things, if I explain to the doctor, then they will actually trust the solution. And most importantly, marking the area of lesion means they can go and check if that particular area has cancer or not. There is an actionable insight that is coming out of it. So the explainable AI is very, very important. And also when you're saying, I'm going to give this tool to the end users, to actually use it, then they make a lot of mistakes, because end users in this particular case could be healthcare workers who are not very skilled, rather, maybe 12th class pass or something. So in those cases, left, right, they interchange and so on and so forth. So we have machine learning models to identify which view it is. There are 5 views, so out of that, which view it is, if they have not taken properly. So all of that, the quality check is also deep learning based algorithm. Okay, so the full report is generated. It is considered as a game changer in dense press. And most importantly, it is clinically validated. We had to do several clinical studies to actually compare our results with the standard of care, which was only available in the hospital setting, right? Because it's not, you can't bring a big machine out of the hospital. So we made every person take whoever is in the testing, take our test, and the same person went and did mammogram, ultrasound, biopsy, everything. And then we compared the two head to head, right? Like that, we did many studies, and we found that our sensitivity was very, very high. That means we did not miss any cancer. When we say no, it's a no. When we say yes, it may be false positive to 7.6%, which means you will need an additional further diagnosis. Right? That's okay. We do 100 people and find like 4 people are likely to be abnormal. Then 4 of them will go for more detailed diagnostic workup with an ultrasound, mammo, or MRI or something. And out of them, maybe there may be 2 cancers. Maybe there are 3 cancers. That's okay, because you're not letting all the 100 from a village come to the hospital, which means, a lot of affordability reduction. Of course, affordability is also taken care of by the actual cost of the machine itself being 10% of the overall cost. There are several studies we have done, 50 plus. Even today morning, I heard there are 2 papers accepted in Texas San Antonio. So like that, every year we have newer papers coming in. But here is another paper which got published in Nature Digital Medicine. Some of you would have heard about the Nature publication. So very few Indians have published there, and this is one of the marquee publication with 15,000 women screened and 27 cancer detected despite more than half of them not sharing what happened after we found the positive, right? So, but still we enabled finding 3 times more cancer than the existing method. So the idea here, I'm stressing on the publication and so on, because if many of you are looking at AI in healthcare, the way you have to think about it is, how do I prove to myself and to the world that it is working? It's not sufficient that you do a lab level testing. You have to do a hospital head-to-head testing, which I mentioned. You have to go to a field and give it to the ASHA workers, make it work with intended users, we call it, right? Who have to use it at the end, and then develop the models and so on and so forth. So far, now more than 3 lakh women have benefited from this test, available in 25 countries, in many hospitals, 300 plus hospitals. You can see some of the logos here. I don't know from which part of India you come in, but yeah, HCG, Narayana, Kaveri, all of these are using. And because it's portable and non-invasive, privacy aware, radiation free, so we can also do this test in corporate offices, like we can bring this out into a conference room, and with all the covering and all of that, people can take the test. Even Google has done this test in their office, American Express, Microsoft, Mercedes-Benz, etc. And of course, we have done several rural camps as well. And internationally, we are in these of the 25 countries that I mentioned. We can see a lot of pink in Europe as well. Sweden, Bulgaria, Poland, France, all of these places. Africa, definitely no surprise there. A few in Southeast Asia, and also in US, we have 7 centers onboarded, 3 more in the process of getting onboarded. So it is real. We do have all the US FDA clearance, European clearance, India clearance, and several other country clearance, and also data privacy regulations. We don't want to stop here. We first dream is to reach every lady on earth, scale it in such a way it goes to every country, and the Make in India product, which we have developed, will go to everybody and benefit them, of course. Secondly, this technology can be used to several other type of cancers, other type of abnormalities. And I'm happy to collaborate with if any of you are interested in other. So where we can extend this, because we have now built a platform for any part of the body. So we can collaborate with people who want to build for certain diseases, different machine learning models, so that, we can work through the regulatory and other constraints of that, and then make it happen. Because once you do it for one, you know how to do it for others. So we are happy to collaborate as well. So what are the learnings? So it's important to actually focus on. It's important to focus on real impact at the end of the day. That's very, very important. Secondly, it's important to focus on proving the science. Whenever there is a deep tech, whenever there is an AI, doctors will think, there is AI will replace doctors. Yeah, I mean, eventually there will be some, mundane tasks of doctors which will be, automated. Having said that, it's very clear, and people, we've debated quite a bit, that AI plus doctor probably replace doctors who are not using AI, and similarly in other fields as well. So together there is strength, and we can do it. Having said that, in a rural setting where there is no doctor, or there is a doctor for 1,000 families, one doctor for 1,000 families, then we can definitely use this to triage, so that we can, as I mentioned, identify who is positive and bring them to the hospital. As you saw in the Punjab study, out of 15,000 women, we identified 400 people are high risk, and we brought them. So it's a huge reduction for the government, in terms of providing these free screenings as well. So I can go on and on. I know you have many questions. Maybe I'll pause here, and if you have any burning questions, please pass on, and I'll pass the mic to Sudhakar sir for his comments and any other questions that already has come in.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. That's a very quick run over the vast canvas that you're dealing with. It's an amazing story of how you have built this model and made it verifiable, in the sense the impact is measurable. At the end of it, all the impact that lands on our table is measurable. I think that's where it's pretty interesting for us. I have jotted down all the numbers. I will not summarize right now. It is very, very clear. We will save more time for the Q&A, the interaction, and let's see what the audience would like to actually unravel from this entire discussion. This is tech, deep tech actually solving common man's or common woman's problem in that sense. I'm amazingly proud of you, the kind of work that you have chanced upon. Of course, the personal motive combined with the professional competence, you have gone into AI by detecting this breast cancer in a non-invasive manner. We have been doing lots of studies around AI, its impact in various sectors, including healthcare, and some questions we'll bring from there as well, depending on the availability of time. But for this moment, I want to thank you and also thank the hugely attended session that this is. This proves that you are very popular, ma'am.
Okay.
You're extremely popular because of the work that you're doing. You have actually no time to even respond to any LinkedIn request, but your work is seen by everyone. When I posted it, there was a huge response. And I thank all these distinguished members. Some of them are medical doctors who have joined now from different parts. I think from Mumbai, a couple of them have joined. Otherwise, people from ed, people from tech, people from entrepreneurship and finance world all have joined. I welcome all of you to ask good questions and make this interesting session further interesting and also learning for all of us. I'll now request Professor Prasad to come in for the first cluster of questions. I will come back for the second one. And in the second cluster, we'll open the mic for the audience to ask some really, really good questions. Please key in your questions so that we have an opportunity of filtering that question. I'll screen it and then take it up. Over to you, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Thank you, ma'am, for making a compelling presentation. Compared to many sectors, healthcare is one where questions are much more because lives are being dealt with.
Kind of impacts themselves, yeah.
Yes. And one can already see the kind of questions which are coming in and which have already come in. So your presentation showed up a lot of data, and it helped us build a lot of trust in what you're attempting to communicate. Now, to take that further, because when you listen, it's convincing. Then later, you go back and see a lot of people who still have doubts about what's being done. So to elaborate on that, the question would be, how do you see AI in healthcare as being different, more complex, more sensitive than AI in other areas? I mean, how do you look at this comparison?
Yeah, I briefly touched upon that in the first segment. As I said, AI in healthcare is more difficult to develop, more difficult to commercialize. That's one aspect, but definitely more impactful. The benefit on the ground is, definitely. So if you look at the overall different domains, like, the first one, I think, impacted by AI as an application domain, I would think would be entertainment, like Netflix, trying to show you the right videos that you may like, etc. Think about it. It may show video 1 versus video 10, which you liked. All you would do is, hey, come on, I don't like it. And you scroll and then get to the 10. And it learns that feedback and then can train itself. So the, effect of an error, impact of an error is much smaller. Same way, maybe, of course, the Google search is one, right? Where a lot of AI was used and has been used, page ranking, etc. So, but then again, you'll scroll down and say, this is what I want, not the first one. But now, when it learns more and more, of course, you will see the right answer in the top, right? Personalized and so on and so forth. So from there, of course, it moved to customer care. It moved to Ola, Uber, kind of, optimizations for transportation, etc. Predicting the time of arrival of buses, trains, etc. Of course, flights and so on. So transportation, education, we have videos, and question answering on video, annotations on video, many of these. Healthcare is pretty much the last one to be impacted. Why? Because of the difficulty of developing, and more importantly, highly regulated area. Finance is also highly regulated, but certain aspects of finance can be done, without touching the main monies, right? So that's there. So today, that is why using AI in healthcare is the largest opportunity that is in front of people who want to adopt and develop newer solutions, right? Because very little has been done. And so it's an exciting field. And so that's how I compare, from a high level usage perspective. Technically, I already mentioned about class imbalance and other, availability of data, accuracy being redefined as sensitivity specificity. So all of these are additional elements. Data privacy is huge, right? So that's another big area that it touches. So it is pretty challenging and exciting to work in this area for that reason.
Thank you, ma'am. So that leads us to another question which is related. You have something which is solid, and if you're able to sit person to person, the conviction is very high. At the same time, when you want to increase the usage of this penetration of this application into the market, and you've already been doing that, how do you communicate? You already have done much. What are the challenges that you face, and how do you go about communicating the solution so that the leverage out of your current solution itself is very high, and more motivation comes for more people to start getting into many other areas of healthcare?
Right. So it's a good question. Because I still struggle and make sure that my team is able to, answer all questions, because it is a new test, right? Pretty much. And so there, many people will have a lot of questions, doubts, all of that. So I think when I first started off, right, obviously we were building the machine learning models. There were no data. We started collecting the data for training and so on and so forth. But when you go to a doctor to say, can we use this? And first thing is like, where is the results, right? I think, of course, you build models, show the accuracy results in a lab, but that is not sufficient, right? So the first and foremost is, I did mention, but I don't mind repeating, is to actually create enough scientific evidence. First to yourself, of course, every baby is, your baby's favorite and all of that. But this is not like that, because this is going to impact the user. So any claim that you make in healthcare has to be fully validated, right? And proven with clinical studies and so on. So thankfully for in healthcare, particularly from pharma angle, these processes of creating scientific evidence is pretty formal, right? There's called Helsinki Protocol and so on, how we actually can create clinical study protocols, review it by a multidisciplinary team called Institutional Ethics Committee, and so on and so forth, how we conduct the study. So that's very, very important. Once that is done, being able to articulate the results depending on the audience, right? You may be talking to a doctor, and of course you can use technical terms. When you talk to a marketing person in the same hospital, then you will have to use different terms, but to understand and make that. So I think profiling the audience and communicating to, not to show off like we know better, but it's actually going equal and then speaking eye to eye, right? As to relating to the doubts they may have, trust issues they may have, and bringing in. And also identifying, when you're trying to sort of come up with a new method, identifying what are those trust building factors. If I were in that position, would I have accepted if it was 70% accurate? So that's one. Maybe I want to know where else it is being used. I want to know, is it regulatory cleared, FDA cleared? These are the questions. So you can bring that into your dialogue as well. So I would say that would be most important. The language or the way you frame, those things are not important as much. But over time, you learn, like, where mistakes are, and you can improve.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I'll just take one more question. And this is, you come from a tech background and you have gone into healthcare.
Yeah.
And if you want to leverage the potential of this with more, enterprise coming into this, it looks like there's a lot of enterprise already in tech. I don't know about people from the medical field, how many of them will be enterprising. So what kind of points would you like to, communicate to tech people who listen in now or maybe later in the recorded, so that more people start working on this? What would you say to them?
Yeah, it's a great question, Dr. Prasad, because you're right. Of course, all I knew about breast cancer when I started off was just Googling and figuring out that there is this likely solution, experimenting it, scientifically proving it before we come on, right? Of course, I didn't put all the full team members. It's a multidisciplinary team. And for the last 9 years or so, though I started the startup 8 years ago, I've probably stopped reading technical books, but I only read medical books, only go to medical conferences, probably more friends who are doctors than techies now. Of course, I still have my old buddies, but I'm just saying, right? So I think it's important to immerse yourself in the domain be ready to learn. I've had conversations with the top oncologists of US, Europe, UK, whatever, right? Of course, it was not easy. My guru, Dr. Ramprakash sir, is there. Now my friend, Dr. Sudhakar from HCG. So many of these people, Dr. Collison, who is part of our team. So all of these doctors, you interact on a day-to-day basis. You read up, go back and ask questions. And of course, there are, especially because I'm looking at only breast, I can go into different aspects of anatomy, physiology of the breast and functional imaging of this. What are the imaging? So I went into a course of how to interpret mammogram, MRI, ultrasound. I went through those workshops. You don't have to do it, but I want to be able to learn the field. I don't want to be a doctor treating it, but just so that, I can incorporate the goodness of those into the AI algorithms, several things, mammogram, for example, when there is a lump, the radiologist looks for, what you call irregularity in the boundary. So when we read that, and in ultrasound, they look for longer versus taller. All of these features, which are semantic in nature, we brought into thermal imaging. But if I had not gone through it, just looking at data, it is not a simple data. And that is another aspect of different for healthcare, is that domain knowledge, human body knowledge, if you will, right, is very important to inculcate or put it into so it's more handcrafted features in addition to deep learned features. Just deep learning is not performing as well, right? So we need to sort of explainability is one aspect, but in addition, the accuracy will improve if there is a medically relevant feature you're using, and that you learn with, discussing with the experts. It is a multidisciplinary field. AI, when to make a difference in a particular application domain, you definitely need to work with experts in that field, and together you actually sort of develop the overall solution. Yeah.
Excellent, ma'am. I think, there is motivation to ask more questions, but I think I'll stop here and hand it back to Professor Rao. There are many more
Sure.
questions there.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you, Professor Prasad. You should have continued. But ma'am, I'll try to bring in the widely cited case study with respect to AI in healthcare, and probably see where we stack up. Relevant to
I thought it was ours. No?
It is yours. But let me take
But
it.
go ahead, please go ahead. I was just pulling your leg. Yeah.
IBM Watson is a widely cited failed experiment. Over a period of 6 to 7 years, they exhausted about $4 billion and abandoned the project. Roughly, they started around 2017 or 2018, and then very recently they abandoned the whole project. This too, they had started with making what is called AI doctor. They positioned themselves as replacing the doctor in one way. On the other, they have created a black box of data, which was not verifiable, in the sense it was not an explainable AI. Third, they created much more hype, in the sense they announced first and proved later, as opposed to what others do about drawing a lot of clinical evidence or scientific evidence to support what they're recommending. And all this happened with fantastic collaborations. A lot of people not just lending their names to this IBM Watson project, but also lending money. In spite of that, it has been proven failure as an experiment. And these are one of the earlier case studies that is currently now serving as a lesson for all of us who get into AI in healthcare. So, ma'am, against these indicators, how does NIRAMAI stack up? What are the measures that you have taken up so that maybe across these 4 parameters, how do you stack up and how does NIRAMAI perform?
Yeah, so, and I appreciate calling out IBM Watson and calling out some gaps on it, but it also made a difference to the world, where it said, okay, what is the potential of AI, right? I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but at least I think it's the first one, company which woke up and said, this is what AI can do, debate with another person. That's how it started, Watson, to talk, playing chess and playing, what was that? Jason, forgot the name of the game that did. But anyway, so that, and then it went on to posing as a doctor, etc. Of course, I think it was too early. Like now we have more and more AI-based research that's happening in LLMs and Gen AI, etc. So that is actually, making the AI itself better. And also with huge compute power now available even on your mobile phone, So learning and retraining, all that is much, much faster. So things have moved beyond that, but at least I think it actually showed up the opportunity, right? And potential of what could be done. So at NIRAMAI, what we have tried to make sure is that we claim only after scientific proving of that, right? That's something, it's always good to promise less and, do more rather than promise more and do less. So that's something that we have tried to inculcate. But I guess, when you're trying to sort of talk to this, and maybe one of the audience will go and, tell somebody else, when there is sort of, not just here, in other places as well. So it is possible that somebody went and said, we will replace that, we'll replace. So I'm not here to replace any existing modality, because every modality has its own positives, own gaps, right? For example, in ours, we can't use it for final diagnosis. I was very clear. It is a screening test. If you tell me how deep is the lesion, I can't tell you. I can tell you which location, which quadrant, which breast, but I can't tell you how deep it is, right? So I also tell what we can't do and why, let's say, a mammogram or ultrasound is better for diagnosis. Ultrasound you can use for doing biopsy. I cannot use thermal for biopsy. So it's not right replacing any modality today. And that's important. But some people hear this, and especially some of the marketing sort of, type of views of it, they go replace. Of course, it will be a boon to so many people who are not even having a mammogram because they're outside, they don't afford it, all those things I said. There are so many women, young women who are not. Definitely it will help and it will be better than the existing method for it. But having said that, every imaging modality has its own place and own advantages and gaps. Together, obviously, we even had a paper saying mammo plus thermal. What is the answer that you can, when you do AI on both? We call it MATA, mammo thermo AI. You know what it means. So these kind of things, right? I think as long as you are speaking and marketing scientific facts, there is no problem. But there's always twisting and of facts, so that we try to sort of address it as much as possible. But that's one thing we have to try to make sure, at least as founders and senior leaders of the company.
Very interesting. Ma'am, if I may take a sneak preview into your team composition inside your AI lab, because what is critical in this is model building. And for model building, you need to have right kind of inputs, and what kind of people are part of your team that actually build this model beyond you.
So initially, right? Initially, as founders, we just need to sort of, because the first set of training data also was, formed by us. So we initially, I remember, we went to one of the hospitals and wanted to see how a positive, basically a cancer patient, we say positive thermal, right, looks like. And so we requested and we did a thermal image of a person who was going for surgery next day. Then we saw, right? So we started off with that kind of a view. So every, initially when we actually built the training set, it was like every data point, every person's images. That's what, both thermal, mammo, ultrasound is a data point today, right? Multimodal data point. So that was discussed with the doctor to see, why are you saying there is positive here? What should you see here? And then try to sort of bring in a semantics angle here. Obviously, biopsy is saying positive, the location where it is. So try and see what's happening. So this kind of a detailed the first training set, I still call it golden training set, of just 120 people. Of course, now this training set is bigger, but this one is a core where every person's data we went through with the doctors to actually formulate that. Now, after that, of course, you kind of run, you have your own, what we call as retrospective data. You already have data which is labeled, you try it on it, as in like test it on it. And then you get some false positive, false negatives. Then again, roll up your sleeves and see, are there any patterns in the false negatives? Are there any patterns in the false positives that you want to include it back into it? So initial first 1 year was everyone techie. Actually, it's a founding team of when I started off, two of my techie team members joined me, like, Himanshu and Shiva, who are still there, and also engineering Tara. So 4 of us, one was engineering, but we were actually literally looking at every data point, not blindly, but going into it to figure out what is happening. so that we can craft the right features. Because first we started off with 300 data points. What deep learning can you do with it? Not much, of course. Only after that we can, after a large number of. So that was the most important. And after right now I don't get to do a lot of programming anymore, but we do have weekly and monthly reviews at different levels of granularity. I have a wonderful team now led for data science, led by Shiva, who's actually Forbes 30 under 30 as well, who started off as a young first job at Xerox, and he joined me for NIRAMAI. And then we have lot of interns come in, spend a year, and then they get a job or MS or MS outside India, so they go away. But there are lots of these interns who are like a year. And then we have a few research engineers in addition to research science PhDs. Yeah. And then I have a separate team, which is engineering, which is more about stack, full stack, because there should be overall solution building. So that's a different profile. And then you have a separate product team, which is about defining the product features and doing the training for product, customer support for product, more technical in nature, right? So I have 3 teams, technical alone for it. And I have a separate regulatory team, which takes care of ISO 13485, FDA, CE, that one, which is a regular, to make sure they're conformant, etc. I have a separate clinical team, which looks at what data is coming in. Can we actually develop some evidence, additional evidence as and when our customers. So one of the customers in Philippines finished 12,000 screenings. So I said, can we sit with them and help them analyze and understand something, right? So here again, data science and clinical team comes together sometimes. So that's another team. And then there is a business team and so marketing team. So it's like a big family.
Wonderful. I was trying to see if there are doctors in your team, medical doctors.
Yes, clinical team is doctors. Clinical team is led by Dr. Collison. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
And also we have consultants who are working somewhere else, radiologists, but they're also part-time with us in addition to the full-time clinical team. Yeah, definitely.
So this detailed explanation about composition is useful for the wannabe AI enthusiasts into healthcare. So the people around the screen may take note of this. And it's important that model building is extremely crucial before we go tell the world that the solution has arrived. So fantastic, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
I'm reminded of a WhatsApp joke, which I'll postpone towards the end on engineers and doctors. Looks like we are heavily loaded as engineers on the screen, around the screen, but there are a couple of medical doctors, so I will postpone this joke towards the end.
Oh, you created the curiosity.
Okay. But the other curious question that I have, ma'am, is it has been keyed in by one of our esteemed members who has joined. What is the potential rate of false negatives in your model?
We try to keep it to close to 0 as much as possible. But if there is a false negative, we try to analyze and then characterize it as a confounding factor. For example, there's something called a symptom called nipple discharge. So when we analyzed, we found that we were losing a few positives, during the clinical studies. Then we figured out that all of them had a nipple discharge in the last 1 week. It's important to find that factor. And now I go to a doctor and say, if somebody has had a nipple discharge in the last 1 week, you may need to anyway. So not only I don't need to say, the report says that. We generate a report automatically, right? And it goes through a radiologist for signature. But there we clearly say, due to this symptom, we recommend you go for full diagnosis in any case. So it's important to analyze that. And today we are trying to keep our negative predictive value near perfect, as well as sensitivity to be near perfect, which means false negative to be close to 0 as possible. Yeah.
Ma'am, before I open the mic for the audience to ask questions directly, another curious factor is what are the adjacencies that are happening around your work or your domain? For example, you are into detection of breast cancer using a particular model, thermal model. Around the world, are people working on the subsequent steps? What's the AI advancement that's taking place as we talk?
Yeah, clearly there are lots of companies, maybe 10 to 12, if not, who's using AI on mammography itself, which is the regular methodology, which is also helpful. When Google actually first released the first model as a research output, but it's really about taking all the way. There are many companies who are doing it today as AI in mammography, which is also getting integrated into PACS systems, the picture archiving systems that are used in the hospital today for medical imaging. Having said that, even in UK and US, it's not really replaced any of the doctors. Typically in UK, we have what we call as double reader, right? So every image is read by two people. There are experiments to see, can we replace one with a doctor, with an AI, sorry. One is a doctor, another is an AI. It's still not into the full wing. But when you come to a developing country like India, Southeast Asia, Africa, and other places, hand-based examinations. If you're doing hand-based examination along with that, or many times, instead of that, you can do definitely, some of these AI-based tests are much better compared to just finding with hand, that too by a health worker, who may not even know how to do the testing, or even self-paced examination. So clearly in these cases, it can autonomously identify the red, yellow, green as well in resource constrained settings. It all depends on the context, right? In terms of advancements, of course, there is additional, if you look at the domain itself, there's something called liquid biopsy. Can we use a blood test to detect all cancers? It's a wonderful, research question. And there are certain companies which are trying to do that for at least detecting recurrence of cancer. I mean, coming back after 3 years, you can do blood tests to identify that, because it can go anywhere else, right? Cancer once found in breast can go to other places. So that's one. Genetic testing has picked up quite a bit, where you identify high-risk women who are BRCA positive or something automatically with genetic AI for genetic sequencing, and pull up the high-risk women to make them go to the screening. So several of these are around AI in cancer. So
Great, ma'am. A lot is actually happening around.
yes, definitely. It's a most active field, I would say. Actually, RSNA, which expands to Radiological Society of North America, is the largest gathering of radiologists in the world. Usually every year it happens in November, December, that last week in Chicago. And you have a whole floor. It's such a big exhibition floor, whole floor called AI Showcase. It's a radiology conference. The whole floor is AI Showcase, So AI in radiology is really, really happening space today. I think one of them asked, which is the most, I saw somewhere the question.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer to Dr. Chitra as well.
Ma'am, if I have to take this test, you said it is portable, it's easy to take, non-invasive, privacy protected. What is the cost of this test to be taken if I take this test?
So we know that we need different pricing needs, right? When you do a rural scan, like it could be just 100 rupees per scan. And also in a hospital setting, we give more detailed report. In rural, it'll just be red, yellow, green, because they don't need a 3-page report. In hospital, it may be different. So we have different product models and packs and so on and so forth. But overall, our test is offered to the end user at least half the price of existing method in the hospital setting, and actually offered free of cost in the rural areas when it is sponsored by somebody else. It's more a camp mode sponsorship that we do.
Great, ma'am.
And it's
Thank you
different
so
for different countries, so I don't want to name a specific number.
Sure, no problem. We'll go ahead by opening the mic to the audience. They have raised their hand. Dr. Priyanka Dikshit, you can open the mic and talk to ma'am. And Dr. Chitra, parallelly, you can try your luck.
Hello, Dr. Priyanka.
Hello, ma'am. First of all, I would just like to correct. My title is not doctor. I'm just simply Priyanka Dikshit. Okay.
Perfect.
And
No
I
problem.
come from the background on product management, and currently I am into healthcare sector. So this topic sounds very interesting and it's very relatable, and I really wanted to learn some insights from you. One thing that came to my mind and that actually attracted me to listen to your webinar was, and that leads to my question is, in general, for any AI related device or solution, let's say in healthcare, so for healthcare professional or even the general public who is the customer, they may have a lot of distrust on any AI generated recommendation that you give, and that's merely just due to maybe the concerns around the reliability of the data or accountability that it may have. It's kind of a black box for them, right? So that also because of we are relying on very complex algorithms that runs the AI models. And then from healthcare business or professional perspective, how do we see that this, what do we call myth or the approach is getting broken in terms of maybe how the technology is better adopted? So I would like to hear your experiences in that. Yeah.
Sure. Actually, it's a good question because it helps to clarify that, so the end user, first of all, is not directly looking at an AI result and figuring out if she has cancer or not. There's always a human in the loop. Be it, let's say in a rural setting, she's doing hand-based examination, she'll also use this and then say, okay, it's like you don't even say cancer or something. You actually, so it is, let me start with the rural setting. In the rural setting, I remember I myself went for a camp once and I was sitting with laptop and all of that. And they thought this is smarter than a very expert doctor who was sitting. So in rural, it's actually different. Having said that, I understand the crux of your question. Even in urban setting, we are not saying that the output of the AI will go directly to the end user unless it's in a rural triaging setting.
Yeah.
So here it is acting as an aid to the doctor. As I mentioned, in a glucometer, it is showing 100, 200, whatever is your sugar level, right? And the doctor reads that sugar level, HB1AC, whatever number is, that number is used to actually diagnose, right? So how did that number come is where the AI can come in, right? But it has to be proven technology. Same way, right? Instead of looking at color images, which I shared a few of it, which is very difficult to decipher. If you're looking at 4 lakh temperature points in different 2000 shades of red and yellow, no human can detect, right?
Yep.
Now, the same thing, if I show it in a marked manner, these are the highlighted areas. This is the number I'm getting for, asymmetry. This is the number I'm getting for irregularity, etc. Then the doctor can make a conscious decision. So the AI is like a calculator, right? Nowadays, I don't remember the 13 wala table, right? You always have to kind of, you're so used to so that is what it is, right? That is how it can be for the doctors, today, like, doctor's aid is what it is. So that way, in fact, there was a survey done in US, I forgot which state. Clearly, it came out that actually end users prefer AI plus doctors than just doctors.
Okay. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Correct me if I'm wrong. Dr. Chitra, would you like to take a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah.
A very good evening to one and all present here. Ma'am, I'm not from this health sector background. I'm from management field, assistant professor. But the way you have given the insight of AI in the health sector, the topic become very interesting. And some thoughts also came to my mind. So there are certain queries like, suppose if the data which is being driven by AI, it is going to be used for medical aspects. So how to verify this data? And the second, that who is responsible, like when you are using this and the diagnosis which is being done, it go wrong, then who is responsible for that? And one more, that what the health sector is doing to get maximum benefit of this AI into this sector. And ultimate user are the doctors. Then how doctors are being trained so that they can use this AI aspect. If you can,
I'll start from the last one, but you have to remind me. I'll start from the last one, but you have to remind me if I forget any of your questions.
Sudhakar sir will do that.
So the last one is very much. So basically, when we work with Dr. Sudhakar, Dr. Ramprakash and all, so one thing we wanted to make sure is to show what the report that we can generate and move it closer and closer to kind of reports that doctors are used to, medical doctors are used to, right? As in, like, I came to, of course, by reading and all, I figured out that there is a BI-RAD scoring, American College of Radiology has determined or set as guidelines for mammography ultrasound. So we said, let's go closer to that. So when we don't call it BI-RADS because FDA asked us not to use the same term, but we call it B score, right? For Bharat score, by the way. So when we have B score, we tell the doctor B score is like BI-RADS, so they get it. So the training needed is very small. Of course, mostly my dialogue with the doctor who is using the report would be, Is there a clinical evidence? What kind of evidence? What were this, different sample sizes? How small this lesion size you can detect? And some of the questions were asked before by Dr. Rao and Dr. Prasad as well, right? So some of these questions and showing them, sharing with them the internationally published peer-reviewed journals, papers, conference papers as well. So that is where most of the dialogue goes. And many of the doctors have themselves done the study. So you work with key influencing doctors to make them do the study. You don't go inside, you give them the tool and you please test and let me know. It really helps. In Philippines, for example, Dr. Norman, he's a 40-year experienced oncologist. He did it first, and then he now goes to all TV and everywhere Philippines. He talks about this, right? I didn't tell him to talk because he knows it has worked. Same way, right? Many of the Indian doctors have gone and spoken about it. Sometimes, of course, there is a hesitation because they don't want to put other doctors against them. Sometimes it happens, but mostly outside India, it's much easier to just share scientific evidence and request the doctors to talk about the scientific evidence. But here, there is a mixed politics and non-politics also. But having said that, yeah, it's important to have the scientific evidence. Again, I'm coming back to the same point. Without the scientific evidence, no clinical healthcare system can function, especially AI-based, right? I don't remember if you asked any other question and I missed answering.
Yeah, one question I asked, who is responsible if the diagnosis
responsibility. Yeah. So it's a good question. So there are two things that happen. One is if usually the report is signed by the doctor, right? So they will review the answers and get it. Having said that, we also have engagement with the hospital saying that if there's a product liability insurance and so on and so forth, we also pick up the liability for the answers generated by the tool. But the final liability is the person who is signing it. But it's a dual responsibility, I would say, because we also pick up if it's a product related. See, for example, if we are saying it's B score 5, but still the doctor says no abnormality, it's not my problem because in the tool, we've already said it is B score 5, right? In the report, B score 5 is positive. So that way, it depends on where the error is. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for patiently responding to all the queries. Correct me if I'm wrong. AI in healthcare is diagnostics. What is AI in healthcare for cure? Is there any?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of treatment planning, drug development related, for especially, in the cancer area where I actually focus on for chemotherapy, what kind of dosages are best for, it's like personalized medicine. That's personalized medicine is all about how do you personalize the treatment to the patient with a lot of parameters. Body is a very, very complex organ. And I kudos to the doctors who kind of, study every part of the body. Kudos to all the scientists who develop the different drugs and so on, right? So, but which drug is most suitable? How much dosage is best? So there it is used. There are a lot of robotic surgeries. You would have heard like the doctor is in Vellore and operating in some remote place with there is a robotic arm. So there are several of those kind of use cases that you hear as well in treatment.
Excellent. Thank you, ma'am. I think we exhausted the time, although we have lots of questions. Even Dr. Prasad will have to go to airport from Chennai.
Oh, okay.
Chennai being Chennai, he's challenged to maybe he'll take another flight just in case he misses one.
Better than Bangalore, sir.
We start from there. We take it as granted that we missed the flight and start working backwards from there. Anyway, sorry for delaying it beyond 7:30 p.m. Ma'am, the WhatsApp joke that I was referring to is that
sure.
Generally, if anything is successful, then people say it is engineered. But generally, if anything is a failed one or a fake one, it's called doctored. I'm not drawing any.
Oh, no.
Okay. On this happy note,
doctors are such a wonderful profession, such a wonderful, noble profession. Great. Hats off to all of them. Thank you. Thank you very much.
To all the doctors and to all the innovators, a big high five for coming together and making this world a better place in terms of detection and cure by using AI and advanced technologies. Let us learn together and let us make these things detected and save people from the pain, from the misery that they run into once they are detected with all these kinds of diseases. Hopefully, we will have a better world in the days to come. Thank you so much,
Ma-
ma'am, for your time, expertise, and energy in enlivening the entire conversation. We are grateful to you. I request you to email your PPT so that we'll use it for writing a summary. We'll share it on our archives along with this video. A text summary will be provided. That will be aiding in developing the text summary. Request you to email the same. On behalf of all the enthusiastic participants, on behalf of the entire ICFAI group, I want to thank you for your time, and we'll keep in touch with you and keep learning from you. If possible, a collaboration or two. I'll be visiting you probably at your convenient time in Bangalore or any other place where you would like to meet us and take it forward. So once again,
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, sir. I really enjoyed the very interesting dialogue, actually. Thank you so much. Thank you, audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll meet again on 26th of September at 6:30 p.m. for session number 210 on WiseViews leadership conversations. Come back, but browse more about what's happening, especially in NIRAMAI. Some of those methods, some of those models and the success rates, the impact is also published. Go to NIRAMAI. You will learn quite a bit, and then compare it with what's happening around the world. Then we'll have rich data available for us to see and compare what is the leap that we have to take, what is the additional research that is possible in this. For those who are going to get into AI in healthcare and those who are academics in this area, even the common men and women, we would like to know and understand how it is advancing, because it touches every single person, every single home. So therefore, it's a very, very relevant topic, and therefore, we all thank Madam once again for this wonderful time. So take care.
Thank you very
Have
much.
a great weekend and a good night. See you next week.